Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, please like and subscribe. My name's Todd from 169 Design, and today I'm going to do an in-depth tutorial on the infotainment system that comes in the Hyundai Elantra N. Mine is a 2022, we're now in 2023, so there is a new model year that's out, but everything should be the same as far as I know. So if you're interested to see all the ins and outs of this infotainment system, then stick around. Alright guys, so we're going to start off with the most basic of basics. We're going to get the car started. I'll show you what the intro screen is here. Alright, so this is basically giving you the drive safely literature here. And then you either confirm it or it will just go into its home screen. One of the really cool things I love about this home screen is it kind of shows you like a vignetted map of where you are on the background, which is really cool. It has all your basic information. It's going to have the time, it's going to have the date, it's going to have your user profile. So like I said, my name's Todd, that's my user profile. I'm the only one that drives this car, so I'm the only one that's set up as a user. But if you had multiple people driving it, you and your wife or whatever, you can set up separate user accounts for everyone. Also shows the temperature, what kind of day it is, it's cloudy out today, and then the radio media is off. So if the radio was on, you'd be able to just go here and click it and it would bring you to the radio. So we're gonna jump right into it. We're gonna swipe over, and this is gonna be our page 1. There's actually 2 pages of this main screen here. So we'll go back to page 1 and we're gonna jump right in. So we're actually going to first go and kind of explore these hard buttons that are here. And I should note, you might hear my car running in the background. I have to have the car running because this is going to take a while, and just having an accessory will drain down the battery. So let's get started with map. So if you click the map button here, well, that's going to give you a map of where you are. It's also going to have some previous destinations, some frequently visited points. So we'll just cancel out of those. So if this wasn't blurred, you'd be able to see where I was, but for sake of privacy, I've had this blurred. But yeah, this is going to be your navigation map. It's going to show you where you are. You can obviously put in where you want to go, and that's going to be through this navigation button. So if you press navigation, then you can search for places, you can put in where you want to go, you can have saved places, previous destinations, all that kind of stuff. All right, so those are pretty basic. I mean, it's going to be exactly what it says, map and navigation. Radio is going to be exactly that. We'll turn it down so we don't have any copyright issues. But this is going to bring up your radio. Obviously, I have satellite radio, Sirius satellite, so obviously I can go to those and radio. Okay. Media is going to be exactly what it says. It's going to be all of your various media things. So you have FM, AM, Sirius. If you had Apple CarPlay or Android Auto hooked up, those would show up as well. Bluetooth audio, you can hook up wirelessly to Bluetooth. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are only through wired, a USB wire, unless you have a wireless dongle, which I actually do. So if I plug that in, then this would be lit up with Apple CarPlay. You also have USB music. I've never used that before, but I suppose if you had a bunch of songs on a USB drive, you could plug it in, that'd be accessible there. And then you have Sounds of Nature, which I'll give you a quick overview of. It's pretty cool thing. So you have these built-in sound bites of various environments. And so this is calm sea waves. You also have lively forest, rainy day, open air cafe, warm fireplace, and snowy village. So it's actually a really cool feature. I enjoy putting this on every once in a while, and it's a nice little meditation thing. Obviously you don't want to meditate while you're driving, but it kind of calms you down and gives you a nice little background if you want to relax. So that was media. We're going to jump to seek a track, which are pretty obvious. That's going to be for your radio or your stereo. This is your favorites button, so I'll show you later where you can program this to go wherever you want it to. I have mine set up to the home screen, so I press it, it goes right to the home. So if you're in some menu deep and you want to go back, then there it is. And then you also have this setup button, which is also on the screen here, and that's essentially going to get you to the next level of adjustments in your infotainment system. So if you want to go back home, you just press there. So that covers all the hard buttons that are at the bottom. Obviously you have a volume knob as well. So now that we've gone over that, we're going to jump into all of the icons here on the home screen. So we'll jump into N mode, and that's going to be kind of the coolest feature of this infotainment system. Most of you guys that know about the Elantra N or the Kona N or the Veloster N, I'm pretty sure the Veloster N has this as well. Definitely the Kona N and the Elantra N, but these are basically your performance pages for the N mode, and it's going to show you all of these different performance variables. You can actually customize this by going to this hamburger menu. You can do edit N mode widgets, and you have a whole category of different performance readouts that you can move over and adjust to wherever you want to put it over there, which is really cool. So it's very customizable. You also have your second part of the N mode screen, which is your custom N settings, which are over here, as well as a G-force meter. You have your launch control activate, as well as performance options, and that's going to be where you set your launch control. So if you wanted to go higher, say 3,000 RPM, you can do it there, all the way down to, let's see where it goes, 2,500 is the lowest. I have it set at 2,700. I believe that is factory default. You have shift light, which basically is when you're in N mode, the shift light will illuminate as you're getting closer to red line. So you can set that where you want it to actually start appearing or where it shows red line. You can also have an alert sound, which I feel is makes a little bit more sense for the manual transmission versus the DCT, because the DCT is going to shift for you. Unless you are in manual mode and you're using the shift paddles, it will actually bounce off the red line, but I'm not so much a fan of the alert sound, so I have that set off. Power shift is basically activated by default when you start the car, and it's going to keep the power in the transmission full on bore when you're shifting through. It is only available in Sport Plus, so that's basically N mode in the transmission mode, but it'll give full power in between shifts. It's like a power shift essentially. You can turn it off if you don't like that. I don't know why you would, but you have that option. N-track sense shift. This is very similar. This will basically determine that you are performance driving, and it'll give you the optimal shift programming when you're doing that. This is available on both Sport and Sport Plus, so Sport and N mode. Again, it's always defaulted to activate, but you can turn it off if you don't want it. Automatic creep off. Essentially, this is a feature that's built in that makes your DCT function like a torque converted automatic. So if you're at a light and you take your foot off the brake, it will creep you forward just like a torque converted automatic would. If you're on a hill, it'll kind of keep you from rolling backwards. If you wanted that off, you can turn it off here. By default, it's on. I prefer it on to act like an automatic, because if I take my foot off, I don't want to be rolling backwards like a manual. But if you wanted that, you could do that. Active sound design is the piped in engine sound, so you can choose the change that you want, so largest to moderate to smallest to completely off if you don't want any piped in sound. What I found with this is it's very minimal, the changes. Unless you are full throttle in N mode, then you might actually hear some of the differences. But as far as these settings go, I really have not noticed a big difference, except for off. Then obviously it's going to be a little quieter when you're really getting on it. You also have these different options for sporty, high performance, or TCR. I don't really know the difference between what a sports car and a high performance car sounds like, but they give you that option. TCR is the TCR race car, so that gets kind of like a very whiny sound to it. Not a fan of it, but if you like it, you can do it. And then you have personal, and that's where you can really get into the crazy customization. You can adjust the throat, the bass, the whine of your exhaust, or what's the sound coming in. You can fine adjust the volume, and again, you have these different options for the driving sound that you want it to sound like. So it gets, I mean, incredibly customizable. Again, I didn't notice a huge difference unless I'm full throttle on N mode, and even then, adjusting all these, I don't really get a huge difference, so I kind of leave it where it is, and that's that. So I believe that's everything with the N screen here. So again, to go back home, I can press my favorites button and get there. There's also a home button up there. Map is map, obviously, so we've already explored that down here. Navigation is navigation, so we're not going to go into all that. Let's go to phone. And this is actually my brother's phone. So this is device connections screen that's going to show you any phone that's been connected through Bluetooth to your system. I use wireless Apple CarPlay because, again, I have a wireless dongle that I bought for my car. So most times I have that plugged in. I'm using Apple CarPlay, so I don't have my phone connected by Bluetooth. Otherwise, it would show up here. But when me and my brother were on a trip, I was using Apple CarPlay. He connected via Bluetooth and was able to play music through his phone using that. So if you wanted to connect a phone Bluetooth, that's where that would show up. Phone projection is basically your Apple CarPlay. So if I plug this dongle in, it would actually show this as Apple CarPlay for this little icon here. So Android Auto, it would be the same thing. If you have your phone plugged in with a USB cable, it's going to show either Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, depending on what phone you have. Voice memo is a really cool feature that I just discovered, and essentially you can record a voice memo right here and then play it back. It'll save it. Pretty interesting feature. I've never used it except for when I was just exploring the menus recently. But again, pretty interesting to have a voice memo option in the infotainment. Climate is exactly that. It's going to show you your climate controls. There are hard buttons down here. I never actually used this for any of my climate control stuff, but I suppose you could. This also has climate settings here. Activate upon washer fluid use means when you washer fluids are used, it'll kick on a recirculation so that you don't smell the washer fluid, which is a pretty cool thing. Auto dehumidify is essentially it'll determine if your car needs to run the system to dehumidify it. Same thing with auto defog. So pretty cool. Gives you some information, tells you what it's set to. But again, all the hard buttons here is what I use for the climate. So I've never actually really gone into that menu besides that. Valet mode here, you're going to put in a pin, you're going to set it with your BlueLink app, which is an app that you download on your phone. It gives you a bunch of really cool features like remote start for the winter. You can determine if it's for the summer, it'll run your AC or your heat, vice versa. It also gives you the ability to lock and unlock your car as well as put it in valet mode. Now, from what I understand, this valet mode is not like, let's say, a Hellcat where you have two different keys and it's limiting how fast the car can go or how much horsepower it's making for the valet driver. This essentially, I believe, just allows you to follow your car and be able to track it to see where it is while they're driving it around or doing service or whatever it is. I might be wrong about that. If you guys know more about valet mode, leave a comment and let me know what I'm missing on that. But as far as I know from what I've seen, it's not a true valet mode where, again, it limits horsepower or top speed or anything like that. Quiet mode's a really interesting thing. Again, I've never used this, but I just did discover it when I was kind of going through this to prepare for this video. Essentially what this will do is if you hit quiet mode, it'll kick the back speakers off from making any noise and basically automatically lower anything that's above 25 volume level down to 25. I guess this would be great if you have a small child in the back and they're sleeping or you want them to go to sleep and you still want to listen to music up front. You would hit quiet mode and it would kick the speakers off from back there and allow the kid to get some good sleep. Okay, HD radio data. This, I'm not really sure exactly what this is hooked up to or how it's doing it, but I assume that there's some kind of, oh, here you go, there's actually some traffic updates. This is built in for the navigation, I assume. It's telling you if there's any construction or car accidents on any routes that you might be taking, which is pretty neat. Doppler radar is for your weather, so it's going to show you a radar, which is really, really neat. And fuel prices is another really cool feature that I just discovered. It's going to show you your closest gas stations as well as the prices for gas. And then if you hit go, it'll actually navigate you there. So really cool. You can go by brand, you can go by fuel type, and then you can actually save favorites to it. Very, very cool feature, and I'm glad that I discovered it, and I will definitely use it in the future if I'm somewhere not near where I'm used to getting gas. And setup is going to be, again, going deeper into the menu, which we'll explore in a second. So that gets, like I said, deeper into the settings. Oh, we'll go back home. Second page, we have media. That's, again, going to be all the different media sources. We had it, last one we had on was Sounds of Nature, so that's what's showing there. Blue Link, again, is that app that you're going to download on your phone and have some really cool features built into that. I'm not going to go into all these because it's just vehicle diagnostics and maintenance and all that kind of stuff. Again, that's all run through that app. So we'll go back and go to notifications. This is, I'm assuming, for if there's any updates for audio, yeah, your audio system, this is where your notifications are going to be, and then you can update your infotainment from there. User manual is pretty cool. You take a picture of the QR with your phone, and then it gives you an online manual, which is really neat. Again, Hyundai really, I mean, they give you so much in this infotainment. So we've gone through the main screens here, and now we're going to jump into setup. And this is where you start getting into all the different settings. So we'll go to vehicle here, and this is going to be your driver assistance stuff. So driver safety auto off in N mode is basically, let's say that you're driving, doing some performance driving, which most likely would be in N mode. You can set it where there's no driver safety warnings, so collision warning or anything like that. So if you're on a track and you're getting close to the back of someone's car, you're not going to get a warning popping up on your dash, which is pretty cool. Warning timing is going to be for your collision avoidance system, and so you can have standard or late. I'm guessing that's just the sensitivity of the warning when the warning goes off, warning volume. Again, just really finite adjustments you can make. Driver attention warning, leading vehicle departure alert is really cool. Let's say you're at a red light and you're not paying attention and the car in front of you leaves. This little notification will pop up saying leading car has departed, and then it lets you know that, hey, you're sitting at a light not going and someone might be mad at you behind you. Inattentive driving warning, this basically monitors if you're kind of going in and out of lanes and not keeping your lane after a long period of driving. It'll pop up with this little coffee icon. I have it set off. I don't ever feel that I need that to pop on. It's only happened once before. Forward safety, again, is going to be that forward safety alert. Active assist provides a warning when you're getting too close to a car. You can turn the warning off. Where you only have a warning, it doesn't make a sound, or you can turn it completely off. Lane safety, this is the lane departure. I have it turned off because there's actually a button over here that you can turn on and off. So this is just if you want to have it on all the time. The assist is there, or you can also have only a warning instead of it actually pulling your steering wheel back. I have it off, like I said. Blind spot safety, this is going to show you if there's a car in your blind spot, which you have in your mirrors. You have little exclamation points in a triangle to let you know if there's a car in your blind spot. This will also pop up a warning on your dashboard. Active assist provides a warning, and vehicle control when a risk of blind spot collision is detected, so it'll actually pull you back, I believe. And then you can have warning off and completely off if you wanted to. Parking safety is with your rear cross traffic safety. Another really great feature that Hyundai has built in is it has sensors on the back, and not only does it tell you if you're getting too close to something backing up, but if someone's walking behind you, or if there's a car coming from your right or left, or a person or a dog or a kid, it'll actually give you a warning, and if you don't stop, it'll actually put on your brakes. Really, really cool safety feature built in. And we're gonna go to drive mode. So drive mode change alert is off. What this is if you change your drive modes in your car, so right now we're in standard, if we put the detailed alert on, let's say I want to go into N mode, I hit N mode, you'll see it pops up with the alert there. And custom, you also have normal mode, which is what I was in, sport, and eco. And as it's changing on the gauges here, it's also popping up here. Now if you did a simple alert, what that's going to do is just give you the banner up there as well as your gauges changing over here. Off is it's just going to show up in your gauge cluster. That's how I have it set up. I don't need it showing up over here. It might get a little annoying for the passengers seeing when you're constantly changing drive modes, because I do a lot of times go from eco to N and then back to eco and vice versa, so I don't need it showing up on the infotainment, but you do have the option there. Active sound design, we've already gone through that. That's the piped in engine noise. Cluster, we'll go through all the different stuff you can do for the cluster, which is over here. You can set your brightness. You have a blue light filter, which reduces eye strain, obviously mostly at night. And so you can actually schedule times that kicks on and all that stuff. Extended rear camera use. This is a really interesting feature. I don't really understand why you would want this, but essentially if you have this activated, let's say you're backing up, it turns on the rear view camera. Well, it also, even if you put it in drive, will keep the rear view camera on even when you're driving forward up to a certain speed. I don't know why you would want to use that. It's kind of annoying to me, so I have it turned off. So as soon as you put it into drive, the rear view camera cuts off. But if you want it there, you have it there. You also do have a button down here for the rear view camera, so you could easily just press that and see what's behind you. I don't know, again, why you would want it on all the time. Okay, now we're going to go to cluster theme selection. And so essentially here, this is going to change what you see in your cluster when you're going to drive modes. But let's say you really love the way that that the sport gauges look, which is classic B. You can select it here, and no matter what mode you're in, it's going to show the sport gauges, except for N mode. So this is just for your standard. So normal, eco, and sport. It's going to show these gauges. Classic A is what's normally in normal mode, and Classic C is what's normally in eco mode. So let's say, again, you just really like the look of those gauges. You want it to be that gauge no matter if you're in eco, sport, or normal. You can set it there. I like to have mine linked to the drive mode. I like the way all the gauges look, and I like to be able to really quickly see what mode I'm in, so I leave it on that. Service interval is exactly that. You can reset your service interval here. This is where you would reset it if you do an oil change yourself or what have you. Reset fuel economy. This gives you the option of resetting your fuel economy when you start the car, after refueling, or doing it manually. I have it set after refueling, so it tells you what your gas mileage you're getting after putting gas in. Content selection. This is wiper lights display. Displays a pop-up when you turn your lights on or your wipers, which is really cool. Traffic signs, that's going to show you a little traffic sign with the speed limit in your cluster there. And then you have an icy road warning, so if it gets below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, it'll pop up with a little warning saying icy conditions possible, drive with caution. I would say if you are in a colder climate where it's going to be under 40 like all winter, there's an easy way to turn that off. It gets a little annoying if it's popping up every single day. So there's all those. You also have a welcome sound that you can turn on and off. It provides an audible tone when the cluster turns on and off. I like to have the welcome sound on. And then you have oil change reminder. This is where you can reset it again. If you're changing your own oil, you can reset the remaining life percentage there. So that is the cluster settings for the vehicle. So we've got through that. Climate, recirculate air. Again, this is going to be that washer fluid use where it automatically kicks on the recirculation. Automatic ventilations, that auto dehumidify, and defog. Same settings that we saw earlier. This just gives you the ability to turn them on and off again. Let's go to lights. And so we have ambient light here. And that's going to be for your ambient lighting. There's a strip here that you can't see because the lights are off. But if you were able to see it, this is where you can dim it in the dark. You can link it to your drive mode. So N, I believe, is red, and Eco is like a bluish green. And so if you change drive modes, that little ambient lighting will change with it. I have it turned off. Again, anything that's changing over here is kind of a distraction for passengers. So I like to have it just happen in the gauge cluster. But you have the ability to do that. You have the ability to change the color. I have mine set to red, but you can go white, blue, green. You have all the choices there, as well as setting a custom color. So you can go around this little wheel. Let's say I want this yellow, and it'll set it to that. So I like mine at sunrise red. I'm going to go back and put that on. So you also have a headlight delay. So this is great because I park in a garage. This will leave the lights on for 15 seconds to allow you get in. You know, you don't have to turn on the garage light and be able to see. High beam assist is exactly that. I have it turned off. I hate them. I had in my previous car, I always feel like it's not sensitive enough, and so it usually turns the lights off too late and you're already getting flashed by another car because your high beams are on. So I'd rather just control it manually. There's that. One-touch turn signal. Very, very cool feature here. If you do a soft hit of the turn signal stalk instead of putting it all the way on, you can actually select how many flashes you want. Now, by default, this was on 3 flashes. it wasn't quite enough. So if I was getting off an exit off the highway, instead of putting it all the way on, I just hit it in 3 flashes. It doesn't even give you enough time to get all the way over to the exit lane. So I put it on 5. It's the perfect amount of time. Changing lanes, what have you, do a soft click, and you don't have to turn the stalk on and off. It just gives you a couple flashes. So it's a really cool customization that you could do here with that. So that is the lights. Let's go to door. Auto lock, so enable on shift from park. So you put the car in park, it's going to unlock the doors. Auto unlock shift on park, again enable to on shift to park. You can do it enable at vehicle off. 2 press unlock would be like if you want to just unlock the driver's door and not the rest of the doors, you would select that, and then you'd have to press it another time to unlock all the doors. This would be good for kids. If you want to get out, you don't want them to get out, you would have that selected. Smart trunk is a very cool feature that basically, as long as you have the key fob in your pocket, let's say you're coming from the store, your hands are full of bags, you can't reach the button for the trunk, this will beep 4 times and then it'll pop your trunk. So you can easily get it open if you have a bunch of stuff in your hands. I really like that feature, so I keep that on. That should be it for door. Digital key, you can enable a digital key on your phone, your smartphone, with the BlueLink app, and as well as you can actually get a card key from a dealer. So it looks like a credit card. You can keep it in your wallet. You have some digital key information. I always have my key fob on me, so I would never use that, but you have the option to do it if you want. Convenience, rear occupant alert, that lets you know if a rear door is open or closed. The driver is reminded to check the rear seats for passengers when you stop the car. This is great for those distracted drivers that forget their kids in the car, which is totally insane. But my kids are older, I don't need to worry about that anymore. Welcome lights, that's going to be when you walk up to your car, you have your key fob in there, it's automatically going to turn on your door handle lights. If you had pedal lights, those would kick on as well. You can turn that on or off. Wireless charging system is going to be for your wireless charging pad down here. I have it turned off because I have a very thick phone case, and so I don't ever use the wireless charging. It doesn't work with my phone case on it, and honestly the wireless charging is just very slow. There's no reason to have it. If you have a cable, it's just easier. So I have mine turned off there. That should be it for all the vehicle settings there. We're gonna go to navigation. That's gonna be map display, font size, all that kind of stuff. You can change all that here. Display, I mean, a vast amount of information that you can change for your navigation there. I hardly ever use the navigation because I use Apple CarPlay and Google Maps, but if you wanted to, that's where you would go. This is our sound settings here. So dynamic speed compensation, I'm actually going to turn that on, so when you speed up, it'll turn the radio volume up. I go back and forth on whether I like that or not, but I just found myself turning my volume up today when I was driving and increasing speed, so I'm going to have that turned on. Startup volume limit, will basically set a factory limit max where you don't get blasted with music if you turn your car on and you had it blasting before. So I think that's a cool feature. I keep that on. Position is exactly that. If you wanted to put your speakers all the way to the back and to the right, you can do that. To recenter it, you just press in the middle. Tone, this is your equalizer for your stereo system. From the factory, this is set at all zeros, and to me, the Bose system does not sound great with them all set at 0. When I discovered this, I set them all up to 10, thinking that would be the best. That did not sound good either. From research, what I found out is the mid-range settings for Bose are just terrible. So you want to leave that at 0. You want to put your treble about halfway up, and then your bass almost all the way up to 10, but at 9. To me, now the stereo sounds really, really good, and so much better than what it sounded like when it was set up the factory 0. So you have the ability to adjust that here. Guidance is going to be your guidance volumes for your navigation. Basically have the navigation guidance take over during calls. So if you're on the phone, it'll still tell you the directions, which I wouldn't want, so I have that set off. You have your navigation volume priority, which basically will turn down the volume of everything else and put up the navigation as the priority sound. I don't really like that either, so I have that off. And then mute navigation guidance, that just turns off the guidance altogether. So you have the ability to set all those there. Active sound design, again, that's your piped in engine noise. So there's like 3 different ways you can get to this menu, which is kind of crazy. Radio noise, this is some kind of built-in filtering for the radio noise. I've tested it. Original sound is by far the best sounding. So I guess if you had a really bad signal or source, you could try messing with these and seeing if it would help, but I just leave mine on original sound. Driver assistance, this is going to be your warning volume for your driver safety stuff. This will actually lower the volume of your radio if you have driver safety alert come up. Parking safety priority, same thing. If your parking sensors are going off, it'll lower the volume for the rest of your stuff. Connected devices is exactly that. If you have anything connected here, it's going to show you when you click on that. So that's everything for sound. Device connections is going to be, again, if you've had any phones connected through Bluetooth, this is what's going to show you which one it is. You have voice prompts you can set up if you want to have a lot of prompts or minimal prompts, all that kind of stuff. Let's go to user profile again. I'm the only one that drives the car, so I'm the only one with a user profile, but let's say I wanted my wife to have her own user settings. I could set up her profile here and she'd have her own unique settings saved. Voice recognition gives you how much feedback you're getting from the voice recognition button on the steering wheel. I've only used this a handful of times. Like I said, play the so-and-so band, and it'll play from your music source those songs, but I guess you can have how much you want it to interact with you. I'm not sure why you would adjust that, but you have the ability to. Screen layouts. This is going to be whether you want an analog clock, if you want a digital clock, or no clock at all. You can do a split screen here, which I'll show you in a sec, but you can have weather, calendar, compass, and clock pop up on your split screen, so you have all your options there and you can turn them off if you want. Display, we'll go to, again, this is the brightness of your display, the blue light filter that you can turn on and off, and then extended rear view camera. So again, a couple different ways to get to some of these features. Button is going to be your steering wheel button, so you can set up your N mode buttons here. If you, let's say, so standard N mode on the left is Eco, Normal, and Sport, and the N button on the right is your two N modes. You can change what you want your N buttons to do. I mean, you have a whole bunch of different things. You can do start, record, lap timer, and custom 1, 2. Same thing with the right steering wheel button. Custom button navigation is for your favorites button that's over here. You can set that to whatever you want. I have mine set to home, but if you wanted to do phone projection or blue link or quiet mode, you can set that up there. Custom button steering wheel is, again, a favorites button with a star over here. You can set that to different settings here. I don't ever use mine, so I have nothing set to it, but I'm going to set it to quiet mode. Why not? Mode button steering wheel, that's going to be a mode button that's on your steering wheel, and you can have whatever things you want to pop up here. I have mine set to phone projection, so again, Apple CarPlay, Sounds of Nature, FM radio, and Sirius XM. So that is your buttons button, you might say. Blue Link is, again, the Blue Link stuff, so this is your app. This is going to be all your modem information and modem status and all that kind of stuff for Blue Link. And then general settings is going to be, again, your navigation. It gives your software version, your system info, storage, your date and time. I will say this is an interesting thing with the date and time. You have this daylight savings time. When this was checked, it did not show the correct time on my radio. So it's almost like reversed. This should be daylight savings time off for, say, like if you live in Arizona, you would have this unchecked. But for whatever, it seems like it's backwards. I have it unchecked, and now it shows the time correctly. You have language, so you can go English, French, Spanish, or I assume that's Korean. And then you have your keyboard. You can do your normal keyboard, or you can do like an ABC alphabetical order keyboard. I keep mine in the standard because that's what I'm used to using for a keyboard. So we've gone through the entire thing. I know I've been talking fast. I've been trying to get through as fast as I can so that's not an hour-long video. But that gives you a deep dive into all of the features of the infotainment system. Now, I might have missed something. I've gone through this quite a few times and I still find new things each time. So if you guys didn't see something that you know it has, give me a shout out in the comments. Let me know what you saw or didn't see. Hopefully there's something in there that you guys didn't know you were able to adjust. Like I said, the flasher number of flashes you get on the turn signal was something that I didn't even know was there until one of the recent times that I was going through the menus, and I think that's a really cool thing to be able to adjust that back and forth. So there's some really cool customization in here, all the different drive modes, and you can change your gauge cluster, this and that. It's pretty amazing, and Hyundai did just a phenomenal job with their infotainment system. I couldn't be happier with all this. I mean, it's just really cool, and so many features and adjustability. So again, guys, I appreciate you coming and checking out the video. Of course, like I said, like and subscribe and leave a comment. And if you have any suggestions for other videos you'd like to see on the Elantra N, just hit me up and let me know. So until the next video, peace out.